What is going on, everyone? Welcome to a new video, and we're talking about the newest announcement for Star Wars Rebels, which was announced for fall 2014. And joining me in our discussion here is, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is JediDavie0804, Star Wars geek. Your typical Star
Yeah,
Wars geek.
we're all Star Wars geeks here, so we
Yeah.
can take pride in it. Um, So, what is Rebels basically? Well, right here on StarWars.com, reading the article. This is the new animated series that they announced a while ago that they got Dave Filoni working on, and it's of course Rebels. Your first hint is that's going to take place, with the Rebel Alliance, and basically it's taking place between episodes 3 and 4 in the Star Wars saga. So, what are your impressions on this?
Me?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
you.
I think it is a really, really good idea that they are finally taking the time to work on this time period because this is like 19 years before A New Hope, and this
Hmm.
has been like rarely been touched by anything. Really, the only major way that this time period has been touched is by the first two Force Unleashed games, and that's pretty much it.
Hmm.
So I think it's really good that they're actually taking it to the next level, making an actual TV show out of this. You know, they have the technology, they're doing the CGI, they've had practice with the Clone Wars. I think this is going to be really impressive, and I just cannot
Hmm.
wait to see it.
I completely agree. Unlike the Clone Wars, they have 19 years to work with, and so they have a lot of. They don't have to dodge canon all the time. They don't have to break so much stuff that's already in the movies and such. And of course, this is really interesting because it's pretty much the most untouched era in all of Star Wars. I don't get why such a large span of years within the Star Wars saga is so untouched. So I'm expecting to see some really cool stories out of it.
I mean, it's probably because they didn't have like the correct technology or something to make it yet.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so, okay, read on here. Leading the development of the series' creative team of exceptional talent, screenwriter producer Simon Kinberg, who worked on X-Men First Class, Sherlock Holmes, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, is an executive producer of Star Wars Rebels and will write the premiere episode.
That's good.
Especially when you worked on something like X-Men First Class. I haven't actually seen the movie, but the previews alone, just all that, um, the animation, and plus I heard it won a couple Oscars the year after, so
Yeah.
I
Um,
trust they got some pretty high quality people here as screenwriters or producers.
Very big project. They have to get the best.
Hmm. He's joined by Dave Filoni, of course, executive producer who served supervising director of the Emmy-nominated Star Wars: The Clone Wars. We all know what that is. I
If you don't, where have you been?
Yeah, exactly. Where have you been for the past 5 years?
Probably
Um,
watching your original trilogy VHSs.
that's true. Can't get enough of the original trilogy. Um, Yeah, so I have complete faith Filoni is going to do great things with this. For he himself was a Star Wars nerd when he was a kid. I remember seeing a picture in Star Wars Insider magazine once where he was holding an Ewok toy for Christmas. Um, so this has always been like a passionate era for him, the original trilogy, and I'm sure he has a lot of stories he wants to tell here, and might as well bring his Clone Wars characters in as well.
Yeah, a lot of people have been like wanting to bring a Clone Wars character in, like Ahsoka and Maul would be a very good idea. I'm sure we can talk about that later on after we read the article.
Hmm. Executive producer Greg Wiseman brings with him a wealth of animation experience with credits such as Young Justice, Spectacular Spider-Man, and Gargoyles. Um, Young Justice and Spider-Man are relatively newer shows. Gargoyles, that's a classic, of course, but he's that seasoned in animation, so I'm pretty sure they know what they're gonna go with the direction and animation in the show.
Yeah, I've heard of this Young Justice and the Spectacular Spider-Man. I heard the Spectacular Spider-Man had some okay things about it, so this should be interesting to see how this Greg Wiseman will do it.
Hmm. Let me skip around here. Let's see. The action-filled series set between the events of Episode 3 and 4, an era spanning almost 2 decades, never before explored on screen. Star Wars Rebels takes place in a time where the Empire is securing its grip on the galaxy and hunting down the last of the Jedi Knights as a fledgling rebellion against the Empire is taking shape. Details about the show are a closely guarded secret at this point. Um, Despite how secretive this is, I thought this seemed like a little early to make an announcement on the show. I'm surprised, but I'm at the same time I'm really glad that they're working on the show this early.
Yeah, well, don't forget, this is like a CGI thing. This is going to be like a big, big show. So I'm sure it's going to take a lot of time to like look at past like interpretations of this time period. Well, there's not a lot of like past interpretations, but the Force Unleashed, you're gonna have to probably look at that and
Hmm.
look before then. Like think about how they're gonna make this, and then you got the CGI. You gotta make the models. You gotta write the story and everything. You gotta make the things a year in advance, right?
Hmm.
So
That's
it's
true.
it's a lot of time, and
Yeah.
I see no problem with it releasing it this early. It's like a year and a half away. I mean, they
Yeah.
released Star Wars Episode 7 like late 2012, right? That was like 3 years ahead of it. So I
Hmm.
see no problem with it.
Yeah. Another thing about that is that the video that was released for this, "The Rebellion Begins," um, also has Joel Aaron in it, talking about the animation direction and such. And and not only I'm confident with Dave Filoni doing good things with the show, but also Joel Aaron as head of animation. Joel Aaron's a really brilliant guy. I saw one of a few of his panels at Celebration 6. Um, that brings up our like one of my first. Just start off with my topic since it's pretty short.
All
Um,
right.
how do you think the animation style on this show is going to differ from the Clone Wars or any previous Star Wars cartoons that we've seen on TV?
Well, if I am remembering correctly, before the Clone Wars, we had Star Wars Clone Wars, which is in 2003. That's 2D,
Hmm.
but that doesn't really count because this is no doubt this is going to be CGI. Who does 2D anymore unless it's for like SpongeBob cartoons, right?
Yeah.
So the CGI, I mean, if you, I just think it's going to be really, really impressive. It's going to take them like a year to make this. I'm sure they're gonna have like a lot of advancements. Like if you watch the behind the scenes of all the Clone Wars, you'll see slowly that they have tried out new things to make it stand out as a CGI TV show, and it looks really, really real. I wouldn't be surprised if it looks really like realistic. Like these people look real, not CGI. You know?
Yeah, kind of like 1313, how the previews they did give us, it looked like it was actually real.
Yeah. Like some the Clone Wars had like dust and everything. What CGI show has dust? You know?
Yeah.
Like everything's fantastic. So I'm really looking forward and thinking it's gonna look better than Clone Wars in some ways, depending on what they do. If they
Hmm.
like take the next step forward in CGI animation, it's gonna really stand out.
Hmm. Um, I agree on the point you made about all the stuff they were learning during the Clone Wars. Joel Aaron every season basically he had something to pick up from that. For example, season 3 in Clone Wars, he was learning how to animate water on Camino. A few seasons after, he was learning how to make more detailed environments, how to change the expressions of characters' faces. So he's Clone Wars in a way was more of a learning tool for them now. But they can take that into Rebels and they can make a really impressive looking show. I'm sure it's going to get a lot of attention quickly just because of how its animation style is going to go.
Yes, like yeah, when you mentioned like the water and everything, remember in the past the water was okay, but then that one episode in the Savage Press arc when the Delta Squad came out of that ship, the rain just looks so realistic. That's a good
Hmm.
example of how they've improved. And I can't wait to see how that's going to even look even more realistic next year when the show comes out.
Hmm.
I'm getting so
Um,
hyped talking about this.
yeah. If you want to jump into your topics, you may.
You don't have any more topics?
No, you had a lot of good topics, so we can get into those.
All right, for the Clone Wars fans out there, especially the Ahsoka and Maul fans, you'll be interested in this. Ahsoka and Maul might appear in the show, so we would know what happened to them. Like, do you think that at some point, assuming they do appear in the show, we would get some kind of flashback, like we would hear them telling a story, and we would see like an animation of them from the Clone Wars or anything? Like, how would that look out if they're in the show? If they're in the show, of course.
I have a really strong feeling that they're probably going to be in the show for the sake that Maul and Ahsoka, you know, before they had plans to make bonus content, when they had plans to make season 6 and beyond, they were said they were going to put Ahsoka and Maul again somewhere in there, and I hate to admit it, but that might not happen in the bonus content. Now, what they can do in um, Rebels is maybe I have a feeling they're gonna reference the characters at least. Like maybe Darth Vader is gonna think of Ahsoka in a way, um, and just how that has changed him. There's probably gonna be a lot of interesting aspects, and I'm sure the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni, Clone Wars is like his baby basically, and this is like Clone Wars grown up at Star Wars Rebels. So, he's probably going to take a lot of the things that he put in Clone Wars and put it here. Of course, I don't know who he's reporting to at this point because, George Lucas, I don't know where he stands on Rebels, but Dave Filoni's probably going to put a lot of stuff in, such as Ahsoka and Maul in there. It'd certainly be great because, they've become fan favorites at this point.
Well, I think Maul's been a fan favorite since episode one, but Ahsoka has definitely become. I would honestly not be surprised if she's one of the most famous Padawans, if not Jedi, ever in the franchise at this
Especially
point.
after the closer of season 5, which I'm sure is probably going to get a nomination for some animation reward later
Yeah,
this year.
something regarding the most tear jerking finale or something for animation.
Mm,
Yeah, but I mean, Ahsoka is still a Jedi. Like she's Force sensitive, and the Emperor wants to kill all Jedi, every last one, whether they
hmm
be an outcast like in Force Unleashed, or just a regular Jedi, or someone a Jedi stranded. He wants to find every last Jedi. So Ahsoka is definitely going to be on his hit list. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see her on the run and trying to get some kind of way to defend herself, like a blaster, using the Force, or just picking up a dead Jedi's lightsaber and just using it for self-defense. You know?
Yeah, that's also going to bring up a really interesting aspect, especially since Darth Vader is basically the Emperor's enforcer on, taking out any remaining Jedi. What if some point Emperor orders him to go after Ahsoka? That's going to be a really interesting story if they ever have that.
If yeah, but I mean, Anakin, I think, as is like more attached, just as attached to Obi-Wan as it was to Ahsoka, right? But of course,
hmm
more to Padme. But I think he would still show the same lack of remorse, if I'm saying that correctly,
Yeah.
to Ahsoka as he did to Obi-Wan. He just was not holding back. So that will be interesting. And for Ahsoka, if she's reading it on HoloNet, that's gonna like devastate her. Like Anakin did this. I thought he was a good person.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's gonna be many interesting directions with those characters. Next topic.
Yeah. Maul and Vader doing numerous trials for the Emperor to see who be his apprentice. Like in Force Unleashed, Darth Vader had Starkiller like kill a bunch of Jedi and stuff to see if he was a worthy apprentice. In Star Wars: The Old Republic, you in the Sith Inquisitor campaign, if you play it, your Sith Inquisitor does trials for like the Sith, and whoever comes out on top is this Sith's apprentice.
It's
And
it's
since
it's it's the strongest survive scenario, pretty much.
Yeah, and since the Emperor has so-called plans for Maul, and I'm sure at the same time he was just waiting for the right opportunity to corrupt Anakin. He's probably thinking, I got these two powerful Sith, but only one can be my apprentice. The only two can be there, so
hmm
I'm gonna make him kill a bunch of Jedi and figure out who's the toughest one, and then probably at the end they're gonna have some duel, which will be epic. Maul doing his all flips while Vader is
hmm
doing his force chokes. That's going to be a really excellent duel to see who comes out to be um, the Emperor's apprentice, which is obviously going to be Vader.
hmm Um, Maul's future is it's a little controversied right now because Um, I don't necessarily know if the Emperor, how long he was planning to have Anakin become his apprentice, become Darth Vader. Especially since at the end of that one episode in season 5, when he finally has his hands on Maul, and we're just waiting for what diabolical plans he has for Maul. Um, it's gonna be interesting to see how it goes. I'd certainly love to see Maul again after what they've done with him in Clone Wars because he's such a menacing villain altogether. Um, as far
Yeah,
as him working with Darth Vader, I can definitely see that going. Maybe they could even have a secret alliance to take down the Emperor at some point.
yeah, because Vader tried that with Starkiller. I wouldn't, but of course they wouldn't exactly see eye to eye. They wouldn't agree with each other, but they would still try to get it done. But eventually Maul might have to die. That's assuming like something doesn't happen to Maul beforehand.
hmm
Which will be interesting to see like a trial thing between the two.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be cool to see. Next topic.
Um, I think we might have already covered this, but just in case anyone's curiosity, where's Ahsoka during the show? But if I already like expressed that in the other topic, then we can just skip it. Like what
Unless
would
you want
happen
to,
to her?
I don't really have much to say. I already said my thoughts, earlier, but is there anything you want to say on that?
Yeah, she's probably like gonna be somewhere on Coruscant, like some apartment or something, and all of a sudden, like, the Jedi are getting killed. She's gonna like try and figure out what happens, but then the clones are fighting her, and she's gonna have to try and escape and hide. It would really not be a good idea to not involve her somehow in the pilot, at least the first few episodes, if not the first season of the show, because, like I said before, she's a Jedi. They're gonna have to try and look for her.
Hmm.
It's gonna be interesting to see if, for argument's sake, she's in it, where she'll be at that point in time.
If they do reintroduce her in the show, chances are that there's gonna be a lot of Star Wars fans who never watched Clone Wars who watch this for the sake that they're hardcore original trilogy fans.
And like, who's
Um,
this Jedi?
Yeah, and so they're gonna be really curious about Ahsoka. So it's if they do bring her back, they're gonna have to do it in a much more dazzling way, in a way that it's gonna make fans gonna go back and watch the Clone Wars, to see how Ahsoka was there. I hope she has a hand in the rebellion. I hope there's a couple Jedi leaders leading the rebellion,
I
up
would love to see
up
that.
before A New Hope. Yeah.
hmm Okay, my next topic. Using, if I'm remembering correctly, there was something about using like Ralph McQuarrie concept art or stuff like that in the
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
That's gonna please a lot of the old school fans of
Mhm.
like the original trilogy.
There is so much unused concept art that Ralph McQuarrie had created for the original trilogy. Stuff that kind of got used in the Clone Wars, but now that we're actually in the sort of era that his concept art was intended for. We're probably going to see a lot more of it. Um, we have, I believe Dave Filoni was, drawing some sketches for TIE fighters and X-Wings and such. But his drawings are also inspired on Ralph McQuarrie's stuff, which is probably going to influence the animation style of the show as well. So I have complete faith that, the show's going to look amazing, especially using Ralph McQuarrie's stuff. It's going to be interesting, interesting to see what kind of concept art they unearth through the show.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting. My next topic. If you play The Force Unleashed, this should really make you curious. If at some point, very later on in the series, will Starkiller appear in the series at some point? We like learn more about him in the story, like in between one and two, maybe, like with a
Um,
clone or something.
Rumor had it that Force Unleashed was completely non-canon after the second game. I'm not so sure on that. I mean, a lot of people appreciate the first game. The second game kind of confused everyone a little. What I think they could explore based on Starkiller is maybe Darth Vader wants to use the cloning technology to clone. Um, Probably Jedi hunters or something like that. He probably wants not just to clone soldiers but to clone actual Jedi. Um, and that could basically lead him to the idea of Star Killer. If not, it leads him to Star Killer, then they could probably reference Star Killer somewhere in there.
Yeah, because like I think The Force Unleashed was like the first major take on this time period, so it would
Hmm.
be a good idea to reference it at least in the first game if the second one's not canon.
Yeah.
And I believe you wanted to talk about a topic regarding like using rebellions like the Andron Rebellion during the Clone Wars to
Hmm.
team up to make one big alliance. What were
Yeah.
your full thoughts on that?
Um, Given how much time is left in the Clone Wars for the bonus content, like how much episodes they can actually complete um, and hand out to the fans, I doubt we're going to see any sort of insurgencies or rebellions again, like we did see in Onderon. Um, you have characters like Saul or Steela, she died, but you have other characters there in the rebellion who, in the afterword of the arc, they said that they're going to represent the Rebel Alliance. And actually, if you look at the symbols of the Onderon Rebels, they actually have a portion of the rebellion symbol. So something tells me that we're gonna get some people from Onderon, and to see Saul would be awesome. I mean, Saul was a pretty cool character when I saw him on Onderon. It'd be nice to explore how, all these different parts of the rebellion come together. Um, but most in foremost, I just want to see Saul or the Onderon rebels pop in to the show.
That would be interesting. My other topic. How far after Revenge of the Sith will this show start? Like, will it start a year after the events of Revenge of the Sith? Will it start 2 years after it? Like, how far do you think they'll go ahead before when the show starts because it's 19 years. I'm sure they can't have 19 seasons, one for each year. You know?
That is a very, very good topic because, based on the concept art they've had so far, they're exploring TIE fighters and X-wings, and at the end of Revenge of the Sith, all they basically did was repaint the giant Imperial, basically the giant Republic war cruisers, Jedi cruisers. They painted them gray, and then eventually they came out with Imperial Star Destroyers, um, and they had I think they were called V-wings or whatever, but they looked kind of like X-wings, just like the cockpit and everything. Um, so their concept art is TIE fighters and X-wings and stuff. So I'm gonna guess it's at least 1 or 2 years after, because the stuff they're peeling out is new. You didn't see it in the Clone Wars. We saw stuff close to it in the Clone Wars, but what they're planning on bringing in is probably, I'm gonna say, 2 or 3 years, because they want to take they want as much time in the time period as possible, so they're going to start as early as possible.
Yeah, so because before the Empire actually get to their advanced war machines, they still had like the leftovers of Republic technology. I'm sure, they have
Mhm.
to have used something while they're researching this new technology. So we might see like ATRTs before ATSTs for a short while,
Mhm.
and see like where Tarkin comes in and all the other Moffs, like where they come from. Like that would be
Yeah,
interesting.
that's another great thing is because they can bring back many characters who were in the original trilogy and probably give them more character development, which I believe links to your next topic.
Yes. Um, Will we see? I'm not sure if this is the one you're thinking about, but will we see a young Han Solo and Chewbacca at some point in this series?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
All
I have
right,
a
good.
feeling we will, given hardcore. They gotta target the hardcore fans and the kids too, so they have to have characters from the Clone Wars and characters from the original trilogy. Um, it'd be really cool. The story of how Chewbacca and Han Solo meet is in the comics or the novels or wherever it's at. Um, but still, many people don't know that, and there's a chance they could also rewrite that if they wanted to in the show. Um, so I'd definitely appreciate seeing it at some point.
Yeah, I heard it had to do with like if I'm correct, had to do with Han breaking Chewie out of like a Wookiee slave camp on Kashyyyk, and he was like an Imperial officer. I think Han was something with the Empire, and
Mm.
I believe that's how it was. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and Chewbacca had a, what was it, like a Wookiee life debt or something?
Yeah, I had to serve him. Will any other EU characters appear in this show? Like, will we see? Can't believe I'm getting his name right now. The Blue Chiss, Grand Moff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I forget it. Oh, Thrawn, Thrawn.
Yeah, Grand Moff Thrawn. Oh my God, that feels so stupid. Anyway, will we see any EU characters in the show? Basically,
Um, I hope we see a few, really, because I don't know about Thrawn. At this point in time, Thrawn is kind of rising to power because he actually takes control of the Empire, I think, after Return of the Jedi.
yeah. I was just giving an example of a character,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't really
Um,
think of one that was in this time period specifically. But I was just giving a name of an EU character. Oh, well, here's a better one. Kyle Katarn. Will he at some point? Because he was in the Empire, I think. He was in the Empire.
yeah,
His father was.
he was in the Empire.
Yeah,
I'd
that would
love to.
please lots of fans if they had Kyle Katarn in there.
Kyle, yeah, people who Kyle Katarn. I was also thinking of Mary Jade. They're more popular. They have more popular adventures. After, after the movies and everything. But that doesn't mean they weren't alive during this time period. So, it would be nice to see how they began, how they come into contact with the Empire or the Rebellion, stuff from there.
Yeah, that was what I was like pointing at, like how they're gonna introduce him, like their dawn to the Empire, the rebellion, like them joining it. And finally, this would be an interesting one. This is my final topic. Will we see the construction of the first Death Star slowly progress throughout this series?
Um, I have not a doubt in my mind that they're probably going to do that because you see the Death Star is they're starting the Death Star at the end of Revenge of the Sith. Um, it'd be cool if we could have like the rebels, try to um, well, what I mean here is how, like, what will the Empire do to hide the construction of the Death Star from the rebels? Because they're gonna be gunning, at the Empire at some point, and they're gonna be like, "Ooh, Death Star, secret weapon." Because in A New Hope, they most of the rebels, I'm pretty sure, don't even know it existed. So it'd be cool to see how if they hide the construction of it or anything from there.
Yeah, because I heard it was like moved a couple times during construction. That are like trouble spots, and they tested the super laser on planets and everything.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see the construction and everything. That's pretty much all the topics I have. I don't know if like another topic came into your head while we were talking, or if something I said like gave you an idea of some kind of topic during each chat.
Nope. That sounds about right, actually.
All right, that's
Um,
all I have.
All right, that'd be our discussion on Star Wars Rebels that comes out fall 2014. So, we have about half a year to wait, which really isn't that long because, we're probably going to get bonus content for the Clone Wars, and by the time they've probably finished releasing all the bonus content, they're going to start making TV previews for Rebels and stuff. So, it's going to come up really quickly, I'm sure, and I'm really excited for what they're going to do with the show.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it's going to be cool to see all the previews. And a lot of people will be talking about the previews and everything when that comes out. But this is going to be like a major topic of discussion, and it's going to keep a lot of people occupied until the new Star Wars trilogy comes out. I'm sure we'll be working on this show during the trilogy when the movies are out as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah, Dave Filoni can work on Rebellion, and then they could have the movies, and it's really exciting for how they're gonna handle the characters and such.
Yes, this is going to be a really good preparation for Star Wars Rebels. I'm really looking forward to it like crazy.
Yeah. Um, any words here? Let's see. The thing they said, fans attending Star Wars Celebration Europe will be the first to get exclusive look at the series. Casting will be announced at a later date. So hopefully the trailers will roll all over the heck on YouTube when Celebration Europe comes out. Um,
When is that anyway? I forget.
yeah, I think it's late July. I'm pretty sure.
Wow, it's not. I would be surprised. I mean, I'm sure the first look would be something regarding like around the lines of, here's concept art and everything. They're just gonna show like drawings. I am 100% positive they have not concocted some kind of trailer at this point. It would take
Hmm.
too long. At
Um,
that, it would be rushed.
yeah, I'm sure they're already done, if not halfway done, with the first, what is it? Yeah, with the first pilot episode.
Yes, that could be the case.
Yeah. Um, Celebration site doesn't say when it's at when Celebration 7, I mean 2 is in Europe.
Huh.
Okay. Well, that about wraps up our video. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please rate, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for future Star Wars discussions. I don't know, Jedi Davey might want to come back for more in the future.
No, no, no. Yeah, whenever you need a guest, I mean, if anything, I could come back anytime because like I brought a lot of topics, so I'm sure it'll be interesting to like get my opinions and everything. I'll help any way I can with this discussion, and a lot of people could probably agree with me on all these topics. So I'll be honored to discuss this with you
Hmm.
throughout this,
Well, yeah. Well,
process.
well, thank you for joining. A very, very good discussion. Be sure to subscribe to JediDavie0804 in the description below. Um, thank you for watching. You can say your goodbye if you want to.
Oh yeah, thank you for watching. May the force be with you.
Yep, may the force be with you, and we will see you all later.